All right, man, peace. You know, brothers, I'm already on record as stating that to me, Aaron Rodgers is the most talented and gifted quarterback to ever play professional football. I view him as being a combination of John Elway and Dan Marino. The only flaw that Aaron Rodgers has in regards to his overall repertoire, his resume, is that sometimes he can come up small in big playoff games, which he has in the past. But without a doubt, he deserves every penny of that contract that he recently has signed. But the question now is, should he be evaluated more based off of how many championships he has won? Because once again, that is the only shortcoming that I see in his overall repertoire, in his resume, that he has not come up big in certain situations. And I say his repertoire because there are certain aspects, there are certain characteristics that are coming up short when he constantly has not been able to come through in big games. He's lost certain big games in Lambeau Field even. So, of course, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
Bad man? Your man crush, guys? He's a rich man. Aaron Rodgers agreed to a 4-year, $134 million extension that could be worth up to $180 million in total money, a source told Adam Schefter. The extension includes nearly $103 million in total and guarantees another record amount. Now, Max, we all know how you and Stephen A. feel about Mr. Rodgers, but he is entering his 14th season with Green Bay and only has one Super Bowl title.
To me, Aaron Rodgers has about 5 more years. With this level of ability that he currently has, he's going to have to win at least 2 titles for him to truly justify being classified amongst the all-time great quarterbacks. Or we're going to look back at his career and say to ourselves, yeah, he was great to watch. He was super talented. He could complete passes that I've never ever seen anyone else able to complete. But oftentimes, he did not do what he needed to do in big games. And certain people will say, well, he hasn't had the talent on his team that other quarterbacks have had. That's true. But once again, we could look back at certain big games that he's lost in Lambeau Field. I remember a game against the Giants where he came up very small. Let's be for real. Even the NFC Championship game against Seattle, in Seattle. And I'll give him a little bit of a mulligan for that game because he had a calf injury. But he was terrible in that game. And it's difficult for me to make that excuse for him when the week before he was so dynamite against the Cowboys. So, Aaron, at the very least, even if he never wins another Super Bowl, he's going to have to come up big in these playoff games like he normally does in regular season games for me to not put a little bit of a black mark on what pretty much is a stellar career.
Does he need another Super Bowl for validation of a contract of this size?
Yes.
Oh, listen, he's getting $7 million more than Kirk Cousins. You mean to tell me that marginal difference, that $7 million, you'd rather have Kirk Cousins than Aaron Rodgers or Matt?
That's what's known as a red herring. That's not the question that was asked. The question was not, is Aaron Rodgers more worthy of his contract than Kirk Cousins is of his contract? The question is, does Aaron Rodgers have to win another Super Bowl to validate this contract? And I believe that he does. For him to be making almost $34 million a year and to be considered the most talented quarterback in the NFL, even though one of his compatriots, Tom Brady, has been far more successful in regards to team success, of course, he needs to validate that amount of money. We'd ask that of any other athlete in any other sport. LeBron James, we stay on top of him for only being 3-6 in the finals. At least he's gotten to the finals a multitude of times. Aaron Rodgers has to at least make more Super Bowl appearances to give himself a chance. He has to put his team on his back because, for the most part, quarterback is considered to be the position of the 3 major sports in America that has the most influence on the outcome of his team's performances. So we should at least say Aaron has to appear in a couple of Super Bowls over the next 4 years. If not win them, I think he has to win at least 2.
Ryan than Aaron Rodgers? Everyone understands that the only reason that the Green Bay Packers are among the Super Bowl favorites every single year, yes, Stephen A., among the favorites, say top 5, according to the odds, in a league of 32 teams, is because...
Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say that coming into every season, Green Bay is considered one of the top 5 teams in the NFL. I would say that normally they're amongst the top 5 teams in the NFC when it comes to their chances of at least making a Super Bowl appearance. But Everyone knows that it's been stated that the Green Bay front office has done a poor job of getting Aaron Rodgers a lot of the help that he needs. Well, it's going to be incumbent upon him, since he's considered the most talented quarterback in the history of the NFL, to rise his team up. And that starts in the regular season. They're going to have to win at least 13 games so that they can guarantee home field in the playoffs, so that he does not have to go to Atlanta or go to Seattle or these very difficult places to win, where he's not going to have the edge because the other team is going to have better personnel. So how do you nullify that? You win as many games as you can in the regular season, try to get home field in the playoffs, and hope that Lambeau can make up the disparity in talent that the other team that you're facing will most likely have over your team. So it's going to start and end with him.
They have Aaron Rodgers. He has more effect over the outcome of a game than any football player in the modern era. Period. He is the best who ever did it. Now, his team...
Well, I would say that Aaron is the most talented who's ever done it at quarterback. But once again, he's going to have to show and prove in the regular season because Tom Brady does it every year. Tom Brady leads the Patriots to 12-4, 13-3, 14-2 every season. That's why he's able to get to 8 Super Bowls, because he's making you come to Foxborough.
Are not always excellent teams. If you took him off of that team and put Kirk Cousins on, would anyone be talking about a possible Super Bowl? Of course not. Furthermore, you said it in your original statement, Molly. He's already won a Super Bowl. Time was like Dan Marino. If only Dan Marino could get a Super Bowl, maybe he'd be the greatest ever, right? Aaron Rodgers has already done it. No, he doesn't need to win a Super Bowl to justify his salary.
It's amazing to me the level of fanboyism that occurs when it comes to modern day sports pundits. If they have a favorite, they're willing to change the parameters for greatness just like that. No matter what people want to acknowledge or admit, team sports and individual sports are all about winning. That's what you compete for. You compete to win. So when people try to separate actual winning from the evaluation of a particular super athlete, you know that they have an agenda. They do this all the time with LeBron James. And this is pretty much a modern convention, because when I was a kid, you associated greatness with winning. The reason why we called Joe Montana the greatest quarterback was because not only was he stellar in the regular season, but in the postseason, he was 4-0 in the Super Bowl. Never threw an interception in the Super Bowl. The reason why we call Michael Jordan the greatest is because he's 6-0 in the NBA Finals. You see a lot of LeBron James or Kobe Bryant fanboys, and they'll try to separate him from that. Oh, your only argument is 6-0 in the finals, as if that's a minute thing, and it's not. But I noticed this in the modern day time, and it's really part of the pussification of sports aficionados. It's no longer about what the results are, it's about your feelings. And I'm sorry, I cannot vibe with that.
Best player who ever did it. He's the latest guy to get a contract, so he has reset the market. He gets the most.
Well, first of all, let's say something that's incredibly obvious. Max Kellerman is not a Janet Jackson fan, because clearly he hasn't heard the song "What Have You Done For Me Lately." Last time I checked, that matters. Aaron Rodgers is a superstar. Aaron Rodgers is the greatest quarterback, talent-wise, that I've ever seen in my life.
Agreed and agreed.
And he deserves every penny that he's getting. But that does not mean it's not devoid of pressure in terms of validation. You don't get the money and then drop off the cliff, per se. No pun intended there, Max.
Stephen A. Smith, I don't think that you or I are expecting him to drop off the cliff. But he does have to make at least 2 more Super Bowl appearances over the next 4 years. That's what he's going to have to do. Because I love watching the dude play. He's phenomenal. He can make every throw. I've never seen a quarterback able to make some of the throws that he makes. That throw that he completed against the Dallas Cowboys a couple of years ago in the playoffs at the end of the game, where he spun left and rolled out to the left and then threw the football along the sideline to that tight end on the button, on a dime. It's one of the great throws that I've ever seen, and he made it look so easy. But once again, he's going to have to start coming up bigger in big moments. He's going to have to start setting his team up for success in the postseason by making sure that he can stay healthy in the regular season and also winning the games that he needs to win in the postseason at home, so that at the very least he can make Super Bowl appearances. He's only been to 1 Super Bowl. At least Tom Brady can say, I've been to 8. So Tom Brady is showing more consistent excellence in regards to team performance than Aaron Rodgers is. And over the last 8 to 9 years, there has not been much of a disparity between the overall talent level on the Patriots as opposed to the Green Bay Packers.
To show up and back up everything that you've earned. You've already earned it. We know you deserve it. There is no question about it. But the simple fact of the matter is, now that you've gotten it, you've got to go out there and remind everybody as to why so much noise was made about what you deserved and why. We understand this, and we also understand that he can't win a Super Bowl by himself. If you look at the Green Bay Packers defense, for example, 3 of the last 5 years they've ranked 25th or worse defensively. 3 of the last 5 years in yards allowed, they've ranked 22nd or worse defensively. They have been underwhelming, to be kind. We get all of that. Nobody is blind to it. We can't deny it. We see it for what it is. It's all true. But when you have the kind of talent that Aaron Rodgers has, and you're getting the kind of money that he's going to get, $80 million before next March, $103 million guaranteed, a contract that ultimately could potentially escalate you to above $180 million. You don't do all of that and then, okay, watch Tom Brady win yet another Super Bowl.
I agree, sir. Once again, Aaron is going to have to make at least 2 Super Bowl appearances over the next 4 years, in my view. It's time to start putting more pressure on him. I think that he's gotten a bit of a pass due to the fact that he plays in Green Bay. And the overall storyline has been that there's a dearth of talent on his team. I think that many of the members of the media are playing too much of the fanboy for Aaron Rodgers. At the very least, Aaron Rodgers is going to have to start putting more pressure on the Green Bay front office. And now that you signed that contract, you can't complain too much about them, because if you were truly as concerned about the dearth of talent at pivotal positions as you try to act like you are, you would have left that team. Because there are other places that Aaron could have went that were more appealing in regards to attracting free agents, if he was truly that concerned about making sure that the talent level was where it needed to be at other positions. So we'll see what happens.
Is this a team game, yes or no?
Well, it is a team game.
Is it a team game, yes or no? Do you doubt, or do you think anyone other than maybe Molly really doubts that if the Patriots had Aaron Rodgers, they'd have won at least the number of Super Bowls that they've won, probably more?
That's the normal fanboy response. You'll notice that Kellerman also uses that tactic when discussing LeBron James. Well, if the Warriors had LeBron James, I mean, what does that even mean? We're dealing in reality. Once you start delving into too many hypothetical scenarios, that normally means that you're out of bullets when it comes to realistic scenarios. At the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers does not play in the most competitive division in the NFC. The NFC North has been known for being relatively weak. The Minnesota Vikings have just started to rise up. The Detroit Lions have pretty much been moribund over the last few years, and the Chicago Bears have been terrible. So he's been relatively fortunate. He's going to have to win that division this year. He's going to have to lead his team to a 13-3 record, make sure that he secures home field throughout the playoffs, and then go from there. We can all make the it's a team game argument when it's suitable. But if you're going to tell me that he's the greatest football player that you've ever seen, which you stated, Max Kellerman, and he has the greatest effect on his team of any football player that you've ever seen, why would you suddenly and conveniently make the it's a team game argument when you've already said that he's the best player that you've ever seen at any position? That means that he should be able to assist his team in transcending whatever issues that they have. Much like your praises of LeBron James, you claim that he's infinitely better than every other player. So he should be able to lead his team to victory over any team, no matter how talented they are. Because had you just kept it realistic and said that LeBron James was better than KD, but not by much, that would be more consistent, because it would be more sensible in regards to why a player like LeBron James, even though he's just a little bit better than KD, will get swept in the finals by a team that not only had Kevin Durant, but also has Steph Curry. So your arguments make no sense, sir.
Well, if that were my argument, then I would concur with you. That's not my argument. My argument is that we know what he's done. We know he deserves the money. We know what his talent demands. All I'm saying is that when you get this kind of money, everybody is now going to be looking at that money and saying, okay, what are you going to do? So the pressure is going to be there for him to at least continue to be what he has been,
Yes.
as opposed to what you say falling off a cliff when you talk about Tom Brady.
Listen. If you're talking about Aaron Rodgers has pressure to continue to play at the level he's been playing, which is higher than anyone who's ever lived, that I agree with, but I don't think he experiences that as pressure. That's just him doing his thing.
That's not the
point. Put in the work. You're that talented. You're doing. You know who has pressure on him, Stephen A. Right now from this deal? Their first-year GM in Green Bay. That's who the pressure's on. You gave the quarterback the big contract. Can you figure out first-year GM? Can you figure out how to put a winning team around him? Can you give him enough weapons to succeed?
I'm not quite sure how much pressure's on that first-year GM. Once you decide that you're going to sign a contract that large, when you have a hard salary cap, you're basically saying, I'm going to get mine, you make it happen, you make it work. We've yet to see a team be successful with a quarterback that's getting paid that amount of money. We saw what happened to the Seattle Seahawks after Russell Wilson signed his contract.
That's who the pressure's on. You're going to have to pay Aaron Rodgers. Now can you still put a team around him? Why should Aaron Rodgers feel any extra pressure?
Because again, you have to maintain consistency. It has to be sustainable. You don't get your money and then fall off a cliff. I'm not saying, well, that ain't the damn question, Max. The question ain't about whether he's going to do it or not. The point is that if you're getting paid the money, you have to live up to it. I'm not denying that he's going to do it. I fully expect him to do it. I expect him to exceed expectations to some degree.
Well, he's going to have to exceed expectations, Stephen A. Smith. And that's truly what the question is about to me. I'm not sure if either one of you have hit on the question in regards to answering it properly. Validation for that contract means that he's going to have to be even better than he's been the last few years, because he has not led his team to a Super Bowl appearance for 10 years now. And he's going to have to do that. However long it's been. 8 years, 7 years. One of you brothers can correct me. I know it was somewhere around 08, 09, maybe 2010 that he led his team to the Super Bowl where they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. But he's going to have to transcend that. And yes, the pressure is on him, because once you sign that large contract and you take up that huge chunk of the cap, you're going to have to show your team that no matter what transpires, no matter what the conditions are, I'm going to lead you to victory.
Honest with you, but in the end, he has to do it. He can't dip in any way for the foreseeable future after getting this kind of money. That's my point.
Look, let me tell you, I would agree with you if the following was true. I mean, it's not that what you're saying is wrong, but what's the point, really? If he was on a...
Sir, the point is that you just can't live off your name for your whole career. You actually have to show and prove. Like, I don't know what type of planet these guys live on, where they make these evaluations and they think that they can just get on TV and fanboy out for these guys. You're making $134 million over the next 4 years. You have the highest amount of guaranteed money of any player in NFL history. The same way they gave you that guaranteed money, you need to guarantee some victories. You need to guarantee some playoff victories. That's what Aaron Rodgers is going to have to do. That's the bottom line. You just can't get all that money and then live off your name and say, well, yeah, we lost in the first round of the playoffs 13-3, and I didn't play well, but I don't have enough talent around me. No, dude, it don't work like that. You're supposed to make it work.
Super team, on a great team. Everywhere you looked, he had weapons. And he was 40 years old or something like that. And they just gave him a big deal, 39 years old. Now I would say, you know what? The pressure is on Aaron Rodgers. Because can he still do it at his age? He has all these weapons. They gave him everything they needed. Boy, he better...
With that money, you have to be able to make your own weapons. That's why they gave him that money. They didn't give him all that money so that they can give him Jerry Rice on one side and Michael Irvin on the other side and Rob Gronkowski at tight end. That's not why they gave him all that money. They gave him all that money so that he could take Joe Blow and Joe Schmo and turn them into Jerry Rice and Michael Irvin.
Come through. None of that. Let's say he had been outplayed in the previous playoffs, and so his team got. Now the pressure is on Aaron Rodgers. That's not the case, Stephen A. He doesn't have weapons everywhere he looks. Both of his tackles, the one place where he had real, above replacement value, way above elite value, were at the tackle positions on the offensive line. Both those guys are coming off injury. I mean, even the one area where they're like, hey, you got that. Both those guys are coming off injury. This is not...
So it sounds like you're setting up all the excuses that you think Aaron Rodgers is going to need for this up-and-coming season. No, sir, it doesn't work like that. The New England Patriots, they suffer injury after injury. They lost one of the top slot wide receivers in the NFL last year. Tom Brady still found a way. The year before that, they lost Rob Gronkowski. Tom Brady still found a way. Aaron Rodgers is going to have to find a way.
Aaron Rodgers under pressure. This is Aaron Rodgers. Hey, you ball. You're the best we've ever seen. Here's the most money we can possibly give you. Here's the highest paid player in the history of the game now in terms of guaranteed money. Just continue doing what you're doing. Everyone else got to get their...
No, sir. You cannot just continue doing what you're doing. You have to be even better than what you've been doing. That's why he got that money. When you receive that sizable a level of boon in your contract, it's not for you to just keep doing what you're doing. You can consider that a boost in the amount of money that you're getting, a promotion per se. When you receive a promotion at your job, it's not just because you're going to be allowed to keep doing what you're doing. They're going to expect even more from you. And it's the same thing for Mr. Aaron Rodgers.
That's where the pressure is.
Is Aaron Rodgers under pressure to continue doing what he's doing?
Yeah, he's got to continue doing what he's doing. Sure.
Thank you.
Is he under pressure?
That's what I said. Well, that's not why you put pressure. That's how I phrase it. You're Max Kellerman. I'm Stephen A. That's how I would phrase it. You got to show up and continue to do at least what you're doing. That's my point. So that's my point.
So more pressure? Like there's a new thing. That's the contract. Are you saying he now faces a new pressure? Because he's always under pressure. So the new thing is the contract. That's the news peg. Are you saying now because of that contract he's under more pressure? Or just
Yes, that's what I'm saying. He's under more pressure now because Stephen A. Smith is beating around the bush for whatever reason. Maybe because he actually is able to get Aaron Rodgers to call into his little radio show, so he does not want to alienate Aaron. I have no idea why he's beating around the bush like this. But yes, Aaron Rodgers is under more pressure. He's going to have to show and prove. With this amount of money that he's making, he needs to make a Super Bowl appearance or two over the next 4 years. In my view, at least 2 Super Bowl appearances. And really, he needs to win 2 more Super Bowls to get this type of money and to continue to get all this type of praise that he gets from everyone, including myself.
In my world, people who are talked about as being underappreciated, once they get paid, then suddenly now you have to make sure you weren't overrated or overappreciated. I have no doubt that Aaron Rodgers is going to handle it, but there is no question that when you think about Aaron Rodgers now, whereas before you just thought about the talent, now you're going to think about the talent and the money.
Yeah,
the question, hey, you know what? When you say I'm slick, Molly, he always says I'm slick. I changed the question. The question was, does Aaron Rodgers need to win another Super Bowl to validate the contract? I say no.
So.
You say yes or no?
Of course he has to win another Super Bowl. Why wouldn't he? People like Max Kellerman, they're so funny. This is why I oftentimes analyze and scrutinize the super liberal mindset, because it contributes to this overall belief amongst certain people that they're owed something and that once they get it, they don't have to reimburse the person that gave them what they asked for. There's always a trade-off. There's always a quid pro quo. You can never believe that you're getting something just because. And you should not feel like you have to reimburse that person in some way, whether it's through deeds or actions or monetary compensation. The trade-off for Aaron Rodgers becoming the highest paid player in NFL history is that he's going to have to achieve results that he's never achieved before. And that's the bottom line of it. But when you listen to super liberals like Max Kellerman, he makes you think that everybody owes you something and you should always have your hand out. And when they give you something, it's okay to not think about reimbursing that person or reimbursing that institution. And all that leads to is a sense of entitlement that's not going to benefit you in the long run.
Say yes.
Say
okay,
yes.
So something has changed to you.
I say yes.
Okay.
I say yes.
$103 million in total guaranteed. Tom Brady's working on $30 million guaranteed. 5 rings.
I agree with you, Molly Karam. That was her way of saying that Tom Brady has had better overall team results than Aaron Rodgers. Once again, even though Aaron Rodgers is by far a more talented and gifted quarterback than Tom Brady is the overall greater quarterback because he's gotten greater results. So peace.